Hey there, everyone. My name is Ryan Schul. Welcome to my data science channel where I talk about all kinds of different data science topics and try to make everything interesting and relevant too. But I don't just look at data science. If I have some innovative ideas I think are somewhat uh, interesting and digging into and just analyzing the practicality of that, then I'll take a look at some other things too. So that's what I want to talk to you today. I was thinking just a few days ago, how many calories would a person burn if you walk from one side of the United States to the other? Okay, so if you walk coast to coast, how many calories will you burn? And this is my analysis, and I'll show you how I came up with this. Okay, so we're just making some basic assumptions. People are different heights, right? They'll take different number of steps in any given distance, but I think this is a pretty decent approximation. Okay, we're saying it's going to be around 2,800 to 3,000 miles or 4,587 kilometers to go from New York City to San Francisco. So I put this into Google Maps. This is what they came up with, 2,962. Okay, and this is the path. They actually give you all kinds of very interesting details over here. So this is very useful. So this was kind of like the basis for the analysis I did. So we're going from New York to San Francisco. It's going to take about 1,069 hours, and we go 2,962 steps. So I'm thinking that's in line with this, right? So that is pretty accurate. Calories burnt per mile is about 100 kilocalories per mile walking. I'm looking at biking too, okay? So I'm looking at two different analyses here just to compare the biking and walking together. And the assumption is that you would weigh about 160 to 180 pounds. Now, obviously, I'm a guy, so I'm probably going to be closer to the 160, 180 for some women. Obviously, they're going to be smaller, right? And probably walk slightly slower, right? Or at least take more steps per mile, okay? But again, just making some general assumptions here. So I think so far things line up. I got, what's this come up with? 2,962 for miles. Okay, so that's definitely between that and that. And I'm putting down 2,962. It's exactly right here because that's what Google is giving me. And I want to see the calories. Per mile walking is about 100 and per biking is 50. Obviously, biking is going to burn way fewer calories than walking. Biking is actually the most efficient way to move from point A to point B, okay? Because you put in very little effort, and when you're going downhill, you probably put in no effort. Gravity just pulls you down, right? So walking, you're definitely burning more calories. To go from New York to San Francisco, it's about 200, okay? 296,000, so close to 296,000, close to 300,000 miles, calories. I don't know why I keep saying miles. And almost 150,000 calories if you're biking, right? So, so these line up pretty consistently. But that is, that's a standard calorie. So a calorie is defined something like how much energy it takes to heat up, what is it, a liter of water or something like that. I studied that a long time in school, but that's not really a metric, metabolic calorie, right? So that's more of a kind of scientific metric, but metabolic calories are more like actual energy that your body uses, right, when you metabolize food. So these are more usable calories, right? So the calculation is going to be somewhat similar, but just slightly different. So metabolic walking, metabolic biking, these are the two variables I defined, and I came up with about 281,000 metabolic calories. This is going to be MET, M-E-T, and for biking about 148,000 M-E-T. Okay, so underscore there. So for biking, it's pretty much almost exactly the same because you put in the same amount of effort between a calorie and a metabolic calorie, right? For walking here, it's going to be almost double of biking, right? But the metabolic calories are going to be slightly less than the kilocalories over here, okay? And these are just assumptions I'm making. I think, again, it's pretty accurate, pretty practical. Is this exactly going to be precise right down to the metabolic calorie? I can't say for sure, but I think it's a pretty good baseline for our analysis here. And then time to walk across the United States. If the average speed is 3 miles per hour and the average hours per day is about 8 hours of walking, because you have to sleep, you have to rest, you're going to have to eat at some point too, take a shower. Hopefully you don't go the entire distance with no shower, right? And the daily distance would be about 24 miles. So 2962 divided by 24 is about 124 days, practically speaking. Now, in Google Maps, they say 1,069 hours. So I put this into Excel. So I got 2962, or 124 times 24 is number of hours, right? So this is number of hours, 2976. Google says 1069, right? But that's, again, making the assumption that you do this continuously, and that is not realistic at all. At some point, you're going to have to stop and rest, right? You're not going to be walking 24 hours straight through. But I think this number, the 1069, is about a third of the 2976, and we came up with, what, 124 days. So I think this is pretty approximate in terms of number of days, because, again, you're not going to be walking straight through. You're going to have to stop and rest, right? But the 1096 is about 1/3 of this 2962, and if you're going 8 hours a day with about 16 hours of rest, I think this totally lines up, okay? So about 1/3 of your day is spent walking, and about 2/3 of your day is spent doing other things. Again, shower, eating, resting. You're going to have to rest at some point. Did the same analysis for biking. So the daily range is about 50 to 70 miles, moderate. Now you can do more, okay? This is just making some assumptions. 2962 divided by 60 should take about 50 days, okay? Realistically, like, you're not going to be biking constantly straight through the whole thing. You're going to have to stop and rest. So this was the biking. What I'm just curious to see what they come up with. Oh, 12 days. Okay, so 12. If you look at my analysis over here, okay, 281 hours or 12 days, right? No, 281 hours. So how many? Let me see how many days did we come up with here. 50 days, 281 hours. All right, 281, 50 days, 50 days. And what was this again? Times 24, 24 times 281. This is, whoops, need the equal sign over here. Or wait a second, this is already in days. Let me see what's going on here. This is already, in hours. This is already in hours, so I don't have to convert that, right? So 281, this is already hours, okay? So we're good there. And if I do this, divided by this, so 17, close to 20, so maybe 20% of your day is spent biking, and the other 80% is spent doing other things. You're going to have to relax again, take a rest, eat at some point. So I think this is pretty accurate, right? So about 50 days to bike. And what did you come up with? 124? Yeah, 124 if you're walking. Okay, so I think that's pretty interesting. I want to take this analysis a little bit further. With Google Maps, we can go ahead and get a free Google Maps API key. If you go to your Google Cloud Console, let me see if I can get to mine. Google. It's totally free to sign up. You do have to pay if you use it a lot. I just started getting charged by Google because I use this quite extensively recently. I don't use it too much, but it is free to sign up and get these API keys, right? But if you use it quite frequently, they will bill you for this, and you have to put in your credit card to be eligible. But anyways, here's all your API keys over here. Enabled API services. This is what it looks like. So you can go ahead and sign up for your own free Google Maps API key. I can't show you mine, right, because it's personal and confidential. But once you get this Google Maps key, you can do some very interesting analysis, right? So here I'm looking at New York to Los Angeles, so a slightly different endpoint. Again, we're going from coast to coast. And when you run this, you can actually get the elevation gain and then all the latitude, longitude coordinates for your entire trip. So I took a look at that. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I went over here on Folium Maps and plotted it out, and we get somewhat of a similar map here. So this is New York City to LA, right? And we see all the details of the map. If I zoom in, something looks a little bit off here, right? Because the map doesn't really follow the lines of any kind of discernible path or US highway or anything like that, right? So we're kind of crisscrossing. So I think this is kind of close, but something's off here because you're not going to walk, through somebody's backyard. This looks like you run right through the middle of a hospital or business here. That's not super realistic, right? So I think we have to enhance the analysis a little bit by giving this Folium map tool a little bit more information here, right? So we can embellish this. Again, you'll need your own Google Maps API key. I can't rerun this because the key's not in there because I would have to show the key, right, to do the analysis, but I can't show that. So here, if we zoom in, we did the analysis again. It looks, again, pretty decent. We're following the paths of these roads here, right, which is plausible because I don't think you're going to go switch back across the road back and forth. I think you're going to follow the path of the road. Here we go straight through the middle of an airport, right? I don't think that is super realistic. So I think we can actually improve this analysis a little bit, right? If we use Haversine distance, this is the way to get different distances between coordinates, right? So you have a latitude 1 and a longitude 1 and a latitude 2 and a longitude 2, and this becomes coordinate 1 and coordinate 2. Then you can apply some Haversine math, and we can do I think a more accurate type of analysis here. So here the total distance is 4181 kilometers. What did we have at the beginning here? I think I had kilometers, 4181, 4587. Okay, so it's pretty close. It's off a little bit. But again, there's many paths you can follow. You can see all the roads over here, right? We can follow this road to the north. We can take a different path to the south. So there are more assumptions going on here. But again, I think it's pretty accurate. I think it's good enough for our purposes here. Okay. So we're going to go from New York to San Francisco. Again, you need your Google Maps API key. And by the way, I'm going to share all this code with you. So all you're going to have to do is apply for the API key and then pop it in here, and you can simulate all the analysis that I've already done. Okay. So here I'm looking at different elevation gains. Okay. And then total distance traveled. So again, we get the, what's this, 4181 kilometers. So that kind of pretty much syncs up exactly with this over here. Okay, so we have the number of kilometers. So that looks feasible. And we have the elevation gains plotted out here on this Plotly map. I like these Plotly maps because they're interactive. You can zoom in, you can zoom out, right? So it's a pretty cool way of interacting with your data in a Jupyter notebook. That's the environment that I'm in right here. Now, to make this a little bit more realistic, I'm applying some waypoints or some stopover points that we would likely go through during the entire trip over here, okay? So you have to kind of give it some guidance and coax it and sort of cajole the tool a little bit. Otherwise, it's just going to kind of run wild and try to do some analysis, but is it going to be super accurate? It may, but it may not, right? So you have to give it some guidance along the way. So again, we're going from New York to San Francisco, walking. That is the type of analysis here. If I zoom out, okay, that looks pretty accurate. Okay, now if I zoom in, are we following the street lines here? Kind of, but not really, right? So I think something's still off because we're not really getting the details of all these roads, right? So we have to take into account a little bit more accuracy, right? So again, we're going back to the Google Maps API key. Again, I'm going to share all this code with you, right? And we're going to give this a little bit more guidance on how to do the lines. We want a polyline, okay? And we want to hit certain points across the trip here. So we're going through these major cities over here, right? And we're assuming this person is doing the walk from New York to San Francisco. So if I zoom in, now we have an excellent map. So the assumption here, my take on this is we're starting basically at City Hall. That's interesting. Okay, so this is a good place though. I think for New York City, this is kind of like the epicenter of New York City. So we start at City Hall. We take a ferry down here. We get down to Jersey. Okay, so the terminal is this ferry. Bedford Harbor, so this is the ferry terminal right here. Okay, so that looks pretty accurate to me. So we get out, walk down the street. And this looks very good. So we're following the path of the street now, okay? That's what this polyline is doing for us. So it's making the analysis very, very accurate, or the trip that we're taking very, very accurate. So we're not walking through hospitals and airports and going through people's backyards. So this looks good. We're following this route over here. So this looks pretty good. Let's go to further out in the trip. A couple more points. Okay, we're going through Pittsburgh over here. Are we following the path of the street? And it looks like we are. I think we're crossing over the bridge here, crossing over another bridge. That looks good to me. This looks very, 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 very good over here. Okay, if I go over here, I think it is following all the streets. This looks good. Looks very good. We're following all the streets. Here we took a little deviation to, oh, no. It's just going on a different road close to the airport. So I think this is highly accurate type of analysis in terms of what paths or streets we're going to follow. Right, we're not going through the middle of buildings. Denver, how's it go through Denver? Pretty much through the downtown. Okay, again, following all the streets. That was the order that I gave to this thing. Okay, that's the instruction that I gave. So we get over here to Reno, Nevada. And this looks good. Again, we're following the streets. I think this is looking pretty accurate down here. It looks like we take another ferry. We go over here to another ferry terminal. Okay, and then that is going to take us over to San Francisco. And where does this end up? We go down here, follow the path a little bit more, and we go to San Francisco, Van Ness, and Market Street. And I used to live in San Francisco many years ago. This is pretty much the epicenter of SF, and that's it. So mission accomplished, guys. We got from New York to California to San Francisco, followed the path of least resistance, followed the street maps, right? So we have to follow some kind of like pre-ordered or preset path. It can be a hiking path, it can be a walking path, it doesn't matter. But I don't think you can go through a physical building, right? That's what the first map had it looking like. So I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, I'm going to share all the code with you guys. I thought this type of project was pretty interesting. I learned a lot by doing this, and I'll share the code with you, and hopefully you find it particularly interesting as well. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. Thanks for your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.